going on, everybody? It's Richard Koberger here, the Blue Collar Nerd. Now, I do have some new release notes to go over with you, but before we jump into those, I do have a little bit of housekeeping that I need to do via a new segment I like to call Let's Just Blame Tom.
Sorry, guys.
Hello and welcome to Let's Just Blame Tom. It's a segment where we take mistakes and we blame them 100% on Vice President of Customer Experience, Tom Howard. Now, it turns out that there were some pretty important feature updates around chat that did not get mentioned in the COVID product pack video. One of those is a new permission that allows technicians to view chats from the mobile side, and another is a chat alert. That's right, you can actually now get an alert when a chat comes in, and you can even filter that to only send you an alert via the after hours, so it knows that by going through the autoresponder hours. So whenever the autoresponder responds to a chat, you will get an alert about it. And this is a feature that people have been begging for a long time, and yet it didn't get mentioned in the COVID product pack update video. So why is that? Well, because at the time of filming the COVID product pack video, the documentation for these features was missing, and so I myself did not know about them. And why was the documentation missing? Well, frankly, I'm not sure, but let's just blame Tom. Thanks a lot, you soda-stealing sadist. Nice going, you fish-murdering maniac. But not to worry, because this documentation issue has since been corrected. So in addition to knowledge base articles to both of these features, which I will link in the description below, you will also see both of these features now notated in the previous ST-42 release notes and these current ST-43 release notes for good measure. This has been Let's Just Blame Tom. See you next time, and there will be a next time.
Sorry, guys.
Alright, now that that's done, we can jump into the update. By the way, if you want to know why the thumbnail for this video is this picture of me with a lamb, then check out this video. You should see a card coming up in the corner of the screen here. Plus, I'm going to put a link in the description below, and that's back on the Blue Collar Nerd channel. Alright, so under Dispatch, we have adjustable capacity planning, now available to all ServiceTitan customers. So I did talk about adjustable capacity planning a little bit in my COVID product pack video. And like I said in that video, this feature is not going to be one that you just kind of turn on and that's it. This one does involve some setup, and there is some learning that your team is going to need to do to be able to properly use this feature. But it is a much improved version of capacity planning, so if that's something that interests you, I will put some resources down in the description below where you can start that process. And like the note said, this used to require a configuration, but it no longer does. It's just going to be available to everybody by default. Now, there's also been a couple of changes to the adjustable capacity planning. One is that you can now use business units independently. So before, you actually had to have business units grouped in order to use them on the capacity planning. And if you're not sure what I mean by grouped, you can learn more about business unit groups in the resources that I mentioned in the description. But you no longer have to use those. You can now use just your regular business units independently. There's also been an update to the capacity planning settings. So you can now change if the capacity planning board shows capacity by business hours, custom arrival windows, or 1 or 2 hour blocks. Under PriceBook Pro, we've got a new content feedback submission form. So ServiceTitan PriceBook Pro now has a new content feedback link where you can offer suggestions, point out inaccuracies, or leave detailed feedback for the PriceBook Pro product and content team. The direct line of communication helps us improve PriceBook Pro to better streamline your sales process. So that is definitely going to be mutually beneficial both for ServiceTitan users and for ServiceTitan, because before there was really no streamlined process for, okay, I've got a suggestion for PriceBook Pro, where do I take that? But now with this new submission form, you'll know exactly where to leave that feedback, and the people who are able to make changes are going to know exactly where to find that feedback. Under Dispatch, we have a snappier dispatch board experience. We streamline the way jobs are imported from the database, improving load times for the jobs tray by 20%. Dispatch board workflows are not impacted or changed in any way. So just for clarity, the jobs tray, it's that area right underneath the dispatch board. It's that area where you can find unassigned jobs, unconfirmed dispatch jobs, all of that. And they're saying they've improved the way that the dispatch board pulls that data in, so it should load faster down there. Under forms, photos added to forms are now automatically saved to the job. This is really great because before, if a technician took a photo attached to a question on a form, then the only way to view that photo from the office was to dig into that form and view it from there. It didn't show up with all the rest of the photos that were taken just on the job itself. But now that's no longer the case. If a technician takes a photo, whether it's on a form or not, it will show up in the Files tab with all the rest of the photos. It also kind of goes the other way with this next note, which is that job photos can be added to forms. So technicians can now access a new menu called Photos on the job by clicking the camera icon on a form field. From here, they can add any job photos directly to the form. So basically, if they took a photo loose on the job and now they want to attach it to the form question, they can just do that. They don't have to take a separate photo. So with those two changes, any scenarios where the technician is having to do the same thing twice with photos, just take the same picture twice, that should be eliminated, which is great. Next, we've got PDF and standard form duplication. So this is the ability on the technician mobile side to duplicate an entire form versus just sections within a form. Very handy for things like multiple systems, for example. Let's say you have a maintenance checklist and there's 3 different systems. Well, you're going to need 3 separate forms. Before, this duplication required account configuration, but no longer the case. Now it's just a standard feature that's on by default for everyone. Important to note though that this is controlled by a permission. So there's an allow forms duplication permission under your technician settings. So if you want your technicians to be able to do this, you'll want to make sure that that permission is enabled. Next, we've got performance improvement for forms in settings. The forms section on the Office side now shows 20 forms per page instead of showing every form your business has configured on the same page. Yes, so under settings and forms, there's now pagination, which means that it's not all just one super long list. It will have 20 forms per page, and that does definitely result in faster load times. Especially if you have a whole lot of forms, that page could take a really long time to load before. And if you're concerned that this change is going to make it harder for you to find the form that you're looking for, don't worry. Once the initial page loads, you can search by using a filter on the name column. So next to name, you just hit that filter icon and then you can say contains and whatever it is that you're searching for. So if I'm looking for, say, a maintenance checklist, I would say contains maintenance and then hit filter. That way I don't have to go digging through pages just to try to find what I'm looking for. Next, under invoicing, new placeholders added to the statement email template. So if you run multiple businesses, use the new business unit name and business unit phone number placeholders in the statement email template to help your customers identify the company that they did business with in the statement email. Under in-app help experience, we have a redesign to the help widget. So that help widget that used to be in the lower right-hand corner, that's now moved to the top navigation bars, that question mark right there. You click on that little guy and that will open up the widget for you. So don't panic. Our dear friend, the help widget, it's still there. He's just moved. I don't know what I'd do without you, little guy. Under jobs, we've got a new shortcut for building an office side estimate. So if you go to the jobs actions menu, that little drop down next to the dispatch button, we now have a shortcut to add an estimate. Before, if we wanted to add an estimate to that job, we'd have to click into the invoice. Project pages load faster. Project pages load much faster now, especially those that have many jobs and audit trail items. Yes, and that's because it no longer waits for all of that audit trail information to load before it starts showing you information. So if you scroll down real quick, you might see that job history is loading. That's good. That means we didn't have to stare at a white page while all that was happening. We saw a similar change if you release notes back to jobs, and I think that's been really helpful. Enhanced do not service visibility. To make it easier to quickly identify customers with the do not service tag, we've boosted the prominence of the do not service tag throughout ServiceTitan, including call booking, upcoming appointments, jobs, and more. So yeah, there were some circumstances where somebody with a do not service tag, the tag would just show up as kind of a D, just a black tag with a D. It doesn't do that anymore. It always shows the full do not service tag to make it extra clear that that's what that is. There were also some scenarios where the tag didn't show up at all, like booking a recurring service event, but the tag always shows up now. Copy opportunity notes to job notes. To make it easier to keep track of important follow-up details related to an opportunity, technicians can now copy a note left on the opportunity to the job. Yes, and this is referring to the follow-ups page on the mobile side. Previously, technicians were able to copy the notes to the customer location page or the customer page, but now they can also copy those opportunity follow-up notes to the job page. Edit job notes. Technicians can now edit job notes to help ensure that the most relevant information is easily accessible for the office and for future visits from technicians. Job, customer, and location notes can all be edited, although the technician will need the set notes on customer location or job permission to edit customer and location notes. Also, any edits technicians make to job notes are added to the audit trail. Okay, so now when a technician makes a note on mobile side, which they've always been able to make job notes, but now if you have the right permission set, they can also set customer location notes and customer notes. After they make a note, they can then go into the history tab and find their note, and they have a new edit note button, so that if there's something that they want to change or if they made a mistake, then they can go back and edit it. Previously, that wasn't the case. Once they hit save, that was the note. All right, under Marketing Pro. By the way, I know not everybody uses Marketing Pro, so if you don't use Marketing Pro and you're not interested to hear what's new with it, then skip to this portion of the video and we'll skip over that section for you. Email subject lines and preview text from the pros at ServiceTitan. You can now lean on ServiceTitan's marketing expertise by selecting from a bank of pre-written subject lines for your marketing campaigns. Sorted by campaign type, each pre-written subject also shows the subject line score released earlier this year. Yeah, so this is really cool. So when you're in that portion of the campaign setup where it's time to put in a subject, there's this new browse button, and from there you can browse by your campaign type for pre-written email subjects in the preview text. I like this because not only does it make it easier for us, the contractors, but it also helps prevent our emails from going to spam because we know that these have been written with that in mind. We know that professionals wrote these subject lines. Unsubscribed reason tooltip. You can now hover over a row on the suppression list to learn more about why the email address was added to it. Yeah, so as a reminder, you get to the suppression list from the settings. It's under Marketing Pro, or you can just type suppression into the little search bar. And that's the list of everybody who's not receiving your emails for whatever reason. They unsubscribed, they reported you as spam, whatever it is. So now if you hover over a row, you'll get a little bit more of an explanation as to why that person ended up there. New membership start date audience filter. Build an audience based on membership start date, giving you the opportunity to welcome customers with new memberships, offer new membership discounts, or familiarize them with your membership offerings. I like this a lot. So now we have a new filter that will allow us to make an audience based on when the membership starts, and that will enable us to send welcome letters. Just a quick email that says, hey, welcome to our membership. Here's all the benefits you get with it. Thanks for signing up. Here's some information you're going to need. That's a really nice professional touch that we weren't able to easily achieve before, so that really helps out. I would definitely recommend setting up a welcome letter now that we can do that. Enhanced switch email template workflow. So basically what's changed here is when you were setting up your template workflow before, if you wanted to edit a template, you basically had to delete the one that you had in there and then reselect a new one. But now when you're in the template editor, there's a back button where you can go back to template selection. And from there, you're able to select a different template so you can swap them out a little bit easier without having to delete anything. And we've got use any logo size. So when you're uploading a logo into Marketing Pro, all size restrictions have been removed. They do want to point out, however, if your image is less than 108 by 108 pixels, it might look pretty pixelated and not great on the email. Before, the limit was 400 by 400 pixels. So if you tried to upload anything smaller than that, it just wouldn't let you. So that's no longer the case. You can upload whatever size you want, but use a high quality image. It's gonna look a lot nicer. All right, under memberships, recurring events renamed recurring service events. So in membership related reports, membership and location records, and on the schedule board, recurring events are now referred to as recurring service events. This renaming is consistent with follow-ups where recurring service events are booked into jobs. Yeah, so this is just an issue of naming consistency. In an area that's already got some complexity, a lot of moving parts like memberships, it certainly doesn't help when things aren't consistently named. So that's what's being addressed here. Recurring service events is the name that we're going with, and that's what they're gonna be called all across the product, including this obscure section that's pointed out in this next note right here. Reschedule field renamed in recurring service event records. So now when you log a follow-up in the recurring service event record in order to reschedule, you enter the new date in the change recurring service event date field. Previously, it was called change appointment date. But as we just said, the name is recurring service event, not recurring event, and not appointment. So that is now consistent. Next, view model names and serial numbers when attaching equipment to a membership from the office. So when you're selling a membership from the office, you're able to tie that membership to certain pieces of equipment. And now you're able to see the model and serial numbers, whereas before you weren't. So it's a lot easier now to make sure that you're selecting the correct equipment. Under mobile. Now this is a big one. This is a big one. So if you've been sleeping, you need to wake up now. If you're scrolling through Facebook, kind of got me on the other monitor. No. This one's important. Listen up. We heard your feedback. After selling an estimate in mobile, technicians often clicked on the wrong option when presented with the "would you like to perform this work now or later" prompt. This was either because they were new and they didn't know what each one meant, or they accidentally clicked on the wrong one. Each option now includes an explanation of what each option means, and technicians can also change their selection if they make the incorrect choice. They no longer need to delete signed estimates or call the office to fix their mistake. Excuse me, just one moment. I'll be right back. So that's a pretty good change. Yeah, that was a pretty common occurrence, and previously the only correct way to fix it was to duplicate the estimate that got sold, and then delete the original estimate, and then resell the new estimate that you created by duplicating the old one and choosing the right option this time. And that had to be done office side. The technician wasn't able to fix the problem themselves. So I am very happy with this change. Moving along under payments. See which technician processed a credit card transaction. To give you more insights into which of your technicians processed which credit card transactions, the credit card transaction report template can now show a technician name column. Under payroll and timesheets, we've got a new alert for office employees when clocking out technicians during a timesheet event. So if a technician is clocked in while dispatched, working, or on a non-job event, and then the office employee tries to clock that technician out, they're now going to receive an alert that the technician is on the clock. And then the office employee has to confirm the clock out in order to move forward. So that's just a new guardrail to prevent mistakes and prevent any inaccurate timesheets and therefore inaccurate payroll. Next, under PriceBook, view item details while browsing catalogs. Before I dive into this, I just want to clarify what we're talking about, which is provider catalogs. So certain providers have some pre-made equipment pieces that you can import directly out of the catalog and have them in your ServiceTitan PriceBook pre-made. So now, while browsing provider catalogs or ServiceTitan PriceBook Pro in PriceBook Connect, clicking an item opens a pop-up window displaying item details. This information can help you quickly decide if an item is appropriate to add to your PriceBook. Details include, and I'm just going to put a screenshot up of what the details include. I'm not going to read them all out, but if this is something you're interested in, just pause the video right here, give that a read. You can also now view upgrade and recommendation details when reviewing updates. So when a provider that has a provider catalog makes some sort of update to their catalog, you can see that update through PriceBook Connect, where you go to see all of that stuff. And you're now able to see some more details on what exactly that update includes. So when reviewing catalog updates in PriceBook Connect and an update is available for upgrades or recommendations, clicking the upgrades or recommendations now opens up a pop-up window that includes a description, sold hours, and all the available images. And that is to help you make a more informed decision as to whether you want to import that update or not. Next, we've got replace invoice and estimate items in ServiceTitan Mobile. So technicians can now replace items on an estimate or invoice with one tap in the mobile app. So for example, coming at it from an HVAC example like I always do, because that's the industry I'm from, let's say you're adding a capacitor to an invoice, but then it turns out that you need a different size than you initially added. Before, you would have to delete that capacitor and then add item and go back through the PriceBook to find the new one. But now you have this replace button that will automatically open up the PriceBook for you. You can pick the new correct size capacitor, hit replace, and it will just swap that out for you automatically without you having to delete the old one. So that's pretty handy. That saves some time, and I think technicians are really going to appreciate that change. Another mobile change that I really like, view more details from the materials screen in ServiceTitan Mobile. So when accessing the materials screen from an invoice or estimate in ServiceTitan Mobile, you can now view service, equipment, and material cost and prices, as well as sold hours. This allows technicians in the field to account for the cost of purchased goods while making margin-based calculations. This is great. This is something that I put in a request for. I can't take the credit for it. I don't know that they made it because I requested it, but I did notice recently with that secret update we had somewhat recently, we got the ability to show technicians equipment costs, but it only showed the equipment costs individually. It didn't total them up. And for me, that just didn't really work. That wasn't really what I wanted. I needed to have the total number. That was the number that really mattered to me. Because the goal was for my consultant, my salesperson, to have an idea of exactly how much this job is going to be costing the company, allowing him to make appropriate pricing decisions. So these new enhancements to the material screen solve that problem for me. It does total up all the numbers for you, so you can see the total equipment, the total material price, and it also totals up the sold hours that are on that estimate or invoice, which I know is going to be a big deal for a lot of people who price and or pay off of sold hours. Now keep in mind this is all permissions based, so if you don't want all your technicians seeing all this information, or you only want some of your technicians to see some of the information, that's all fine. You can configure all of that in the technician permissions. Next, hide PriceBook categories in ServiceTitan Mobile. So on the office side, when you go into the PriceBook and under the categories, if you drill into a category, you now have this checkbox to hide it in mobile. And that's pretty handy. A couple of big use cases for that I can think of off the top of my head. That's going to be really helpful, for example, if you are building out a category, it's in progress, and you want to do that in your live account, but you don't want technicians to accidentally go in there and use something that's not finished. Just check off hide in mobile, and that can't happen. Another good use case would be for if you have things that you sell strictly from the office and you don't want technicians to see that stuff. Okay, next, under reporting, enhanced reporting filters for export error report. So you can run the export error report to identify your exporting errors for each batch. The date range and viewing only errors option is removed, so you can retrieve these errors without having to go through a list of transactions that exported successfully. The report also updates with each export attempt to ensure that you're only seeing the existing errors. We've also got a cost column added to the equipment report template. So the equipment custom report template now includes equipment cost as a column option. Reports using the cost column can determine job costs for maintaining equipment. Hey, Editing Richard here. So there's one more note that got added kind of last minute, hashtag let's just blame Tom. But there's a handful of legacy reports that now have 2.0 versions. So I'll put those up on the screen here. The legacy versions of these reports do still exist, but now we also have 2.0 versions as well. And finally, we've just got a couple little fixes. So employee and technician profiles no longer show the verified column. And that is because verification now happens immediately for new technicians and employees, so that information isn't really relevant anymore. We've also got a fix related to project invoices. So when calculating tax for project invoices, if all of the items are not converted to a job from the estimate items are not used to calculate the tax, and that prevents double taxation on project invoices. So before, there was an issue where you could end up having that tax added on for items that you didn't check off when you were actually creating the job off of the estimate, but that's now fixed. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Please hit like if you like this content and found it valuable. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. Again, be sure to check out that video on the Blue Collar Nerd channel where I hang out with the lamb, figure out what that's all about. And guys, try to find it somewhere in your hearts to forgive Tom. Appreciate it. Peace.